It is 6:30 and we're gonna go ahead and start the meeting. Do the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now, if we could just take a moment of reflection, if you're the praying kind, if you could pray for our township and the people in our township and hope for a nice spring and summer for all of our citizens. Okay. Roll call.
Supervisor Bodie,
Here.
Clerk Bracco here, Treasurer Davis. Here. Trustee McKay,
Here.
Trustee Menke,
Here.
Trustee Greenwood. Here. Trustee Hoskins.
Here.
7, we have a quorum.
Excellent. Next is the approval of the agenda and considerations of additions or deletions. Fair mention?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All right. I do need to move the closed session up to just after recognition of an outstanding Bedford resident. The attorney has to leave, so after our closed session. Is there anything else, any other additions or? Good? All right, I don't think that can just be a voice vote. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Okay. Next is supervisor remarks. I don't have a ton. I know that we had scheduled a training session next door at the Overflow Church on April 26th, but I only received one form, and so we're going to go ahead and cancel that one. My hope is by fall we'll have a good amount of people that can come. We are limited to about 30, but this would be a good training. And I said before, my goal is to have everybody in our township CPR trained and ready to perform CPR. And there's a lot of other fun things that we will plan. And so we'll cancel that for April 26th. The other thing, you know, it's April and April showers bring May flowers, but it needs to get a little warmer. I think we'd all agree with that, but that's kind of what the month of April is. And that's all I have. Next on the agenda is the recognition of an outstanding Bedford resident. Shoot the letter. I don't think oh,
There's no present.
well, that's okay. That's all right. I'll send it to her. But I will say that our fine citizen Pam Pickett had recommended that Mr. Richard Campbell receive the recognition form or the recognition this month because he is very considerate. He's kind to everyone. He's a great neighbor, a great mechanic. He retired from the city of Battle Creek. He mows his yard, her yard, and the neighbor's yard. He fixes lots of small engines, fixed her mower and snow blower, cleans his gutter, raises a garden. And if you ask for help, he always says, okay, what do we need to do? He's also good at making things. He assists his daughter in making things. And he is going to be 100 years old in January of 2026. So Mr. Richard Campbell will receive this recognition form for the month of April from our township. So if you don't mind giving it to him, delivering it to him.
Yep.
Okay.
He's laid up dying.
Yeah. And we'll be glad to take more of those if anybody knows of anyone to submit those. That form is on our website. Under forms, right? Okay, good. All right, so next on the agenda is the resolution 04082514, resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Charter Township of Bedford to enter into closed session under MCL 15.268, Section 1, subparagraph G of the Open Meetings Act, pursuant to Section 13(1)G of the Freedom of Information Act, to consult with the township attorney regarding written legal opinions and considerations of recommendations of the township attorney.
So
We have a motion
Support.
and a second. And we'll do a roll call.
trustee Hoskins.
Yes.
Trustee Menke.
Yes.
Clerk Baraco, yes. Treasurer Davis.
Yep.
Supervisor Godey.
Yes.
Trustee McKay.
Yes.
Trustee Greenwood.
Yes.
7 yes. Motion moved.
Okay, we're gonna move into closed session. I need a motion. Open the session back up,
So
meeting back up. Moved by trustee McKay, is there a second?
I'll second it
Okay.
at 8:20.
We need to vote on that? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, is there a motion on the table? No motion?
There. I'm sorry.
You would like
A motion.
motion for a resolution?
I'm sorry. That's what I do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So Treasurer Davis wants to make a motion on a resolution.
Should I read it?
I don't know. Do we read the whole thing or?
Yes, unless you would want me to read it.
Can you please?
All right. This is a resolution terminating Barry Beamish II's employment and contract. At a meeting of the Charter Township of Bedford Board of Trustees held on Tuesday, April 8th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. at the Township Hall at 115 South Aldrich Drive within Bedford Charter Township, which meeting was held in accordance with the Open Meetings Act as amended. The following preamble and resolution were offered by member Davis. And is there a second for this?
Seconded.
Supported by member McKay. Whereas Barry Beamish II has an employment contract with the Charter Township of Bedford employing him as superintendent contract. And whereas pursuant to paragraph 9A of the contract, the Township Board has the authority to terminate the contract and the employment of Barry Beamish II as superintendent. Now therefore be it hereby resolved as follows, that the Charter Township of Bedford hereby without cause immediately terminates the employment contract of Superintendent Barry Beamish II and his employment thereunder pursuant to paragraph 9A of the contract. And this resolution has immediate effect. It would require a roll call on this vote.
Okay, roll call?
Okay. Trustee McKay.
Yes.
Supervisor Godey.
Yes.
Trustee Hoskins.
No.
Clerk Baraco, yes. Trustee Menke.
No.
Trustee Greenwood.
No.
Treasurer Davis.
Yes.
4 yes,
That's
Alright.
4 yes.
3 no.
So the termination of the contract is effective immediately. You may want to advise, Mr. Beamish when you need him to turn in his keys or any other property.
Great. You could be here at the building, tomorrow morning at 7:30 to turn in your keys. Any keys to the building and any other township property.
Who should we meet with at that time?
Are you able to be here?
I'll be here.
Trustee, okay, will be here. Anyone else? Right, I will be here as well.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Beamish.
Thank you.
And, I'm sorry, I have to leave, but I have to go to another night meeting.
Would you like me to stay for the remainder of the meeting?
Pardon?
Would you like me to stay for the remainder of the meeting? If you have any questions on the agenda?
That's up to you.
That's up to you.
I have a briefcase in your office, so, I mean, if you're comfortable with it, I'm okay with it.
Let me just see. You'll stay? Okay,
That's your pleasure, isn't it?
all right. Okay, next on the agenda is the approval of consent agenda items. That A through G is there. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Support.
All right, motion and a second. That can be, it does not need to be a roll call. A voice vote, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next is public comments on agenda items only. Does anyone have any public comments? Okay. Next are the reports, Officer LaValle.
Don't forget to turn your mic on.
Green?
Yep.
All right. The total number of calls for service, in Bedford Township for the, month of March was 352 calls for service. We did pretty well, the last month for our average travel time for priority 1 calls. For service was approximately 4 minutes or less to arrive on scene. We had a break-in and entering incident in the area of Winding Lane, Birdsell Drive. There was a vehicle windshield that was damaged as well, along with the window on the house was damaged. Front door was damaged, the screen door was damaged. There was cameras on the house that were also ripped off. But with the little to no cameras that we had, I was able to identify the suspect and take him into custody. We've had a lot of fraud this time of year, just with taxes going on. Some individuals received text messages from their banks. And the text says to click on the link and follow the link for verification. Please contact your bank if you receive this kind of message, because majority of all those messages will be scammed. So a couple of residents were scammed this past month, so they're working with their banks on that. And then we got a call for service right out of our lineup at 6 p.m. There was a possible break-in and entering in progress in the area of Sunwood Drive. We arrived on scene and located the individual matching description that the caller gave dispatch on the side of the house. After further investigation and with our fast response time, it determined that the individual did not make entry, which was good, but there was a firearm on him and he was taken into custody for concealing a concealed weapon or carrying a concealed weapon. So pretty busy.
Tis the season, right?
What's that?
Springtime is always busier.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Any questions for Officer LaValle?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Chief Kokensberger.
Well, we run so far this year 294 runs. Last 30 days, we had 98 runs. 49 of them were medical. The other was limbs down, trees down, wires down, and stuff like that. Since we've been running the medicals, we are third on the list of most runs per year. Battle Creek City is number 1. Emmett Township's number 2. Bedford's number 3 now. Because when we started running medicals, we've got way over 1,000 runs every year. In the past like that, we were lucky to hit 300 before we started running medicals. Sunday, we had a drill. We burned off 29 acres of field off of Albert Road up here and stuff, and, gentleman is on the fire department. We burn usually that acres every year. He burns it all off and seeds it for butterflies that come in. He has a lot of butterflies that come in on that field and stuff out there and stuff. So the guys got experience of setting a fire on the fields and fire trails and lines on it. And they did a good job Sunday burning it off and stuff. And didn't think it was going to burn too much because it was being wet down there, but it did finally started catching and burning. So they did a good job. Most of the hours were Sunday morning was there and just burning the field off and stuff and getting it ready so he could seed it this week and stuff. Outside that, we're moving right along with the trucks, keeping them up to par, and tires have got to be replaced on a couple of the rigs out there. So I'm going to be spending a few $100s onto them for maybe 12 tires to replace on the grass rigs and stuff because they're getting down where they need to be taken care of, or they don't have no more problems. The old 531 engine that used to be in the apartment out there in Station 1 and the old station and stuff like that, that was a 1979 engine. I remember when it come brand new, when they brought it in, and I drove that truck for many years. I put out a lot of some grass fires, but I put out a lot of house fires, and I put out a lot of car fires with it and stuff over the years and stuff. It is gone. We sold it. It's up north someplace now, but that old truck and I have a lot of history. I don't know how many times that I've run across that road from out there and stuff in 58 years. How many fires and stuff I've been to. I've traveled across there many a times and got a lot of trucks and gone. So I put a lot of time in there. I burned a lot of houses down. I know how to burn them and set them in the basement. I haven't burned any more anyway. The last house I burnt was on the back of the store out there on 37. Then somebody started hollering and screaming, so I said, okay, I won't burn them no more for you. I'll let you pay and tear them down because people like got upset about maybe a little smoke or something that would be bothering them and stuff there, but it was the cheapest way for we to take the residents and help them out. They had a whole horn house that burn it and get it in the basement, and then all they had to do is backfill it and stuff like that. Go back. Anyway, we're moving along on top of everything, and like I say, as medicals are running pretty good on it. About every day we have a couple, maybe 2 or 3 of them, and we had a structure fire here out on Baseline Road, which is off of Ulrich's right out there and stuff. It was an A-frame home. Got there and it was supposed to have been full of smoke in the house, and the gentleman was outside, and the driveway was up off of Baseline, and it was a curved one. It went down to the little ponds down there and stuff. The guys backed the engine down there. They backed the tanker down there. They did a good job of backing it down into there. It got down into the house down in there. It was a little smoke into the bottom portion of the A-frame. So went in there with a heat scanner there and found out that the pump right in the furnace was running about 170 some degrees and stuff. So there we thought maybe, well, that's why the fire was smoking and stuff, was burning up and stuff. So we ejected smoke out of the basement and everything and got it all cleared up pretty good. And of course, the gentleman had no power in the house or anything, and then he was running a generator in the garage out there, and it was hooked up out there and feeding into the house. And so he had all the power shut off and everything when we got there. So, like I say, when I found out the heat on the furnace was running pretty high, the motor and stuff, we thought maybe that was the problem. So we got everything out of there, and then we started putting some of the switches back on, so he could have some heat in the house, because he had an electric heater in the basement or in the lower part where he slept. So one of the gentlemen in the fire department decided to go upstairs there, and it's up in there and the kind of thing, which is a good thing he did, because he went up there upstairs and there was some smoke upstairs yet. So we got the fan and we're going to eject it on out, and they had a fire electric hookup that didn't have no power upstairs, so they threw the switch to have some power so we could hook that generator smoke detector out there. Then all of a sudden he hollered and said, there's got some smoke coming up out of the floor by an outlet. So switches were off again. I went up there. They had carpet all in the room in there. Smoke was coming up out of a receptacle he had right there in the carpet down in there. So we had a fire into there, that's where it was burning, so we had a water tank, brought a water tank up there. I told the guys I wanted to pull that cap right off of there, receptacle right off of there, so we see what we've got. Well, we cut the carpet and pulled it off of there. The outlet on it in the box was completely deteriorated, gone, burnt out. The plywood around the floor was burning already and stuff like that. Been burning probably for an hour and smoking up, burning good up in there, so we put the water can onto it, got the water all out, cut the carpet back away, and pulled the box up out of there and stuff, and it's been in there since they built the house and everything, but it's a good thing when the gentleman went up there and checked things, or otherwise we'd been back here, and that he'd had a good fire going. But why the receptacle, it looks like it looked like I shorted out and stuff and arced out and stuff and burnt the insulation off of the lines that was in there and burning around the floor where it was, and then it was burning the carpet. So he was thankful that we took care of that and we did a job onto that, or we'd have had a pretty good loss. But otherwise, we're trying to keep everybody happy. And hope we continue that way to keep the township here with people and stuff. And I'm not going to talk too much about the runs here and all of this stuff and the nickel and dime stuff, because I've been on the department for 58 years, and I fought a lot of fires, and I fought a lot of stuff, and I've seen a lot of stuff and stuff. And I'm from the old school. I learned from experience and everything from saying there. We're working on some of the SOGs on the department, and now trying to bring them up. And let me tell you, it's a laugh. You look at some of them things, it's the way that they want things done when you get onto a structure fire and stuff. There ain't no way everybody violates it. Hell, I've done it myself.
Oh, Larry,
Stuff
please
on
don't
there,
say
I'll
that.
tell you. When you get to a fire or something, you ain't gonna sit there and start, hey, I gotta do this and that one at a time and get stuff into there. Like I say, I come from the old school. I work my butt off and I come up with what I've got and everything. And you wanna know how to start fires and stuff, come on, I'll tell you.
No.
Put it all in the basement, set it right and everything, so. Outside of that, you got any questions? I ain't said anything more, so don't worry.
Thank you, have a good night.
All right.
Thank you,
I'm
Chief.
done.
Thank you.
I have to make an appointment.
Next on the agenda are our legislative and intergovernmental relations. I don't see Representative Frisbee or Commissioner Strobridge. And so next we move on to unfinished business. We do not have any unfinished business listed. Next is petitions and new business. First is a motion to form a labor/compensation advisory committee.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, and is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. And discussion.
This is at the advisory level, that's correct.
That's what it's.
Advisory
Yeah,
only.
I'm just double checking.
Yep,
That it's not like a planning commission board level.
No.
This is an advisory committee,
correct.
because I know we have requirements to meet if we raise the
Right.
level of the committee. So
So what's the expectation of this committee?
Well, I think, if I can discuss, I just think that we need to get more involved on labor employee issues, reports. The board, it's not gonna be a board, it's gonna be an advisory committee. Basically, we're going to have things brought to us, and then, if I'm on the committee as well, and then we'll report to the board for review. That will be the decision, not decisions with us, it's advisory only.
So you're gonna gather information from different townships, you're going to,
A lot of, yeah,
like,
different things we could address with that committee,
and who's gonna be on the committee?
but it's up for discussion.
Okay,
I think it should be possibly trustees. I don't think clerk or treasurer should be, or superintendent, because it would be decisions on all of that as well. So if it was just trustees, and then another overseer that just like cost of living wages, discussing pay scales, new hires, things like that. I just think that we need that transparency here, because I don't see that.
The other thing I would maybe recommend for those on that advisory committee, or you would advise the board, I guess,
Mhm.
that we also discuss, obviously, with the attorneys, but, in addition, they have some really good resources through the MTA.
Correct.
And,
Yep.
yeah,
And again, it wouldn't be anything making decisions and maybe meet twice a year. Wouldn't even be something that is monthly, things like that. I just think we need something in place.
you are not on speakerphone. Oh my gosh. He doesn't even know he was on speaker.
That's wonderful. I love it. Technology. Anyway,
Okay.
that's just something I wanted to propose to the board to see if that was something that we could kind of maybe get in place to have more discussion on that.
So I'm gonna assume from the discussion that you would like to take this on
I'd love to.
and find some,
Couple more
Committee
people that might
members?
want to volunteer and help, and I'm open to anybody on the committee.
or any other.
Sure,
All right.
it's right up my alley.
Thanks, Jim. It is.
All right, so we had a motion, a second in discussion. Is there any other discussion about this? Okay, we can do a voice vote for this. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that motion carries. Thank you, Shannon.
You're welcome. And then can we discuss who wants
I'm
to?
so sorry.
No, it's okay. I'll answer anything. Can we discuss who might want to be involved? Or is that gonna be at a next meeting that we would need to put that on?
I would think I'd like to see it in writing what we're
Mhm.
planning.
Sure.
I mean, this.
Yep. It's
This
just
is a
a
good
start.
start.
Yep.
Yeah,
We can do that
Is that
next month.
good?
I'll get some stuff together. I'll work with you, Jeannie. Absolutely. Thank you.
all right. Next is to discuss Parks and Rec Advisory Committee. So with this, it's just a discussion. It's not a motion or a resolution. We can just discuss this without a motion or a second.
Well, I think they're focusing more on recreational than they are parks. That's the issue I have.
The current committee?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, the committee that, I don't even know if they're still standing.
The
We
chair
haven't seen him in
resigned.
quite some time.
Yeah, and they haven't met in a long time.
And with that, Danielle.
Yeah.
A year ago?
And then there is a grant that I believe, I hope. I don't know if it's still active or not, because there was a condition that had to be spent by February, I think it was. I might have the date wrong.
You could check on it.
Yeah, we gotta check on that because there might be some funds to, there are a lot of recommendations. And included parking barriers and new picnic tables and,
Like you had mentioned, the pavilion. the
Yeah, the
roof
pavilion.
leaking.
So that's, the pavilion at the park is being fixed as we speak.
oh, okay.
And
Perfect.
further on that, I did turn in the paperwork on time to get the millage money from the county.
Okay, good.
We have about 60,000 we need to spend this year in order to qualify for the spending last year. So you have about $60,000 spend that we need to look at for this year.
So that didn't go to waste. It's still available.
Yeah.
The 60.
And one of the ideas that came up was to, at Markham Park, to turn that into a frisbee golf course.
Disc golf.
Disc golf. And
Right,
Cody-
politically correct.
Cody was getting prices for the holes
Yeah,
and then, for the baskets.
yeah, just focus on the cement work, and I was hoping I'd eventually at some point take Mike out there and kind of get an idea of what it would cost to start clearing some of the trees for like fairways and stuff like that.
Where is that at?
Markham Park, it's a 55 acre, almost probably 54 acres of wooded property that Bedford owns that right now it's mainly just used for dirt bikes to travel over to the sand hill. And cars like to do donuts in the one mode part we do have. That's pretty much all it's used for dumping trash. They like to do that there too.
Oh, okay.
So that was my idea, to give it some foot traffic and some eyes on it.
And I think Barry looked at parking, correct?
Yeah, I
Parking
did have a plan in the works,
for Markham.
but obviously I will there.
Okay. So I'm not sure. I guess we'll need to find out who is on the Parks and Rec Advisory Committee. And then go from there. It's,
So,
see if there's, we have other
Can we
members.
contact who was on there prior to and see if they're still interested or?
As far as I know, the only people sticking around was Melissa, McKay, and myself.
Okay,
I'm not sure if Brittany was planning on sticking around.
okay.
We're looking for volunteers, I know, that,
I bet,
and somebody to chair.
so maybe that's a good discussion. If anybody's interested in helping with the Parks and Rec. Why don't we give this a month and then we'll look into it and see who is available, who's not, and what we can do to get some stuff done. I'm excited because I'm excited for the Skeet Scareman, for the pavilion, and that kind of thing. So good.
And that
Perfect
should be
time
a
to talk
priority.
about this
Yeah,
stuff.
next
Yeah,
month with that money, I want to make sure it's still
Yeah,
gonna be
but-
available if it's allocated and it doesn't dry up.
yeah. All right, next is a motion to move all communication to the website and discontinue Facebook use.
So moved.
May
support.
2nd, okay? Discussion.
So, here I go again, sorry. So with Facebook, I have taken on some projects to contact some other townships to see if they have Facebook, what's the good, what's the bad with it? How often do they update it? So I'm hearing a lot of complaints that we're not updating it enough. So I guess that's where we need to find who's going to update it here if we keep it and what we're going to be putting on there. And some deadlines, I guess, maybe for that Facebook if we're gonna continue it. Penfield does not have one. Springfield, Emmett did not call me back.
Okay. So at the Michigan Township Association, one of the sessions, their conference was last week. One of their sessions talked about just that.
Okay.
And they recommend that no township have a Facebook page. Part of the problem, you can get into, the First Amendment Act because you cannot not have comments or block comments from a thread until after you post the post. And then you have to manually go in and say, no comments. Obviously, we've seen what happens when people can comment. But if somebody were to make a comment and then the comments were blocked, that could be, they said it's never been tested in court, but it could be considered a First Amendment violation.
Yeah.
So that's something to consider, with that. And, yeah, my page, I tightened that up after that session. I mean, it's really,
But I
they
think
really
we-
talked about it
We
a
use
lot.
it as a push, like meeting tonight.
Yeah, and it's helpful to a lot
I
of
mean, I think
people.
that, I think people respond.
It
more
is,
to
but if
that
it's
than a
not kept up
website.
and done continuously, that's where the problem is. A
Well,
lot
we-
of people are getting pretty upset about that.
Because we do a website and the Facebook, right?
Right.
Correct.
Mhm.
But I had spoke with Barry as well about the Zoom links we can put on our website, right? Because that would be the main thing with Facebook is making sure we're still have that Zoom available for people to come into our meeting.
Right.
Did you check into that? Are we able to put that on the website as well?
There, you can,
The Zoom, okay,
they would just have to,
yeah.
find where you want to go play.
And then who would be responsible, I guess, to take that charge on and make sure everything is put on there in a timely manner?
I'll work with Lisa on it. You good with that, Lisa?
Do you have some hours for training? I'll do it,
No.
you'll help me.
We'll figure it out. How's that?
Do you think we
How about-
should, go ahead.
I was just thinking, what if we hold off on deleting a Facebook account until we are able to get stuff
Let's
posted
have
on the
it.
website? Is that-
Absolutely, yeah.
On the website,
Yep.
I just need a little more practice because I just learned it.
Okay,
Okay, so,
It's been remastered, kind of.
right, and that's what I've learned, but there's a couple areas I struggle and could use a little help, but we can work on it.
So do you think 30 days, 60 days? What would you think would work?
as far as,
To get things moved over from the page to our website only.
I mean, what is on, I don't know what's on the page that's not on the website. I've not
I think-
looked at the Facebook
yeah.
page. I've only looked at the website.
We can bring it up for discussion. Next meeting, you could look into that, maybe give us a review.
Is that all right? So we can table this
16?
until next month and then, we'll have more information. We'll figure it out, Lisa. And I know I've heard some comments from constituents that do not want us, they saw this on the agenda, they do not want us to remove Facebook because it's an easy, they're on Facebook and they can see when the meetings are and they appreciate it. But like I said, that was a whole session at the conference about why they recommend not to have a Facebook page, or it's not just Facebook, it's social media, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's good to a point, but if it's not kept up continuously, then that's when we have our issue.
Right.
I can see it both ways myself, but I think if we're gonna eliminate the Facebook, we need to maybe keep it on there for 30 or 60
Yeah.
days, 90 days maybe, letting
Yeah.
people know
Transition.
this is where it's gonna be from now on.
Sure.
If you want it, this is where you're gonna find it on the website. So,
What if, to be safe, I'm just thinking ahead, for next month's meeting, what if, to be safe, we can table something and either pick it up later in the meeting or it has to be picked up in the next meeting, or it does. This would be something that maybe we could consider tabling.
I'm good.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
And then we'll be
Yeah.
sure to pick that up for sure next month, and we'll just see, we'll work together and figure it out. So I don't think we have to vote on that, right, to table?
I'm not sure.
I think it's just a
I
voice
think,
vote.
okay,
Just
just to be safe, all right, let's just do a voice vote. All right, those in favor say aye. Any opposed? All right. Next is a motion to appoint Tony McPeak Artist to the Planning Commission after the resignation of Tawny Walters through term ending 12/31/2025.
So move.
or
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
My discussion, I'm sorry, I'll make it quick. So when we have openings for any boards, do we put it out on our website? Or is it on Facebook, or what's our protocol, I guess? What's our process?
So the law actually says that for the planning commission, that they're appointed by the supervisor.
Okay.
And then obviously approved by the board. So I reached out to Tony. She does a lot for our people in our township, and she's got history of our township that's just amazing. Speaking of Facebook posts, I love reading hers because it always has such good information about our township. And so I'm excited. So we did have a motion. Is there any other discussion on this?
I'm good.
All right. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Congratulations. And congratulations to us. Yes. Next on the agenda is a motion to appoint Keith Davis to the open position for Zoning Board of Appeals expiring 12/31 of 27.
So move.
Second? Anyone? Second. Seconded. Motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Is this your husband, Christine?
It is.
Were you the one that seconded this?
Yes. So I think the zoning board of appeals, I think that's my position, isn't it? That is open, and he agreed to take that role on. They don't meet often, but
How often do they meet, do you know?
I was on it for what, 3 years, 2 or 3 years, and we had 2 total meetings, and it was,
So I
it's
don't
rare.
know that Christy can vote.
No, she can't.
So I don't know.
So I don't know.
Probably,
if
she
it's
probably should
seconded.
have
Yeah,
seconded
I can
it.
second
She
it.
probably should open that back up, 'cause she
Yeah,
should not
okay.
second that vote.
All right.
If it is her husband, yeah.
So trustee McKay made the motion. What you should do, I think you have to walk away from the table if you're gonna abstain from this vote. So I think,
Walk out.
yeah, just stand over there.
Who's the second?
And then who is the second for that?
I'll second it.
Okay, seconded by Clerk Bracco. Now, discussion.
I think it's a clear conflict of interest, having a child, a spouse, or a parent serving under the legislative body. I think we have an open pool of candidates available in the township, and there's no need for anyone on this board to have a family member or a spouse on a commission.
Okay. Any other discussion?
That could be an issue. I
It
don't
could.
know for sure.
It is.
I don't know for sure, but that could be an issue.
And we had no other, this wasn't put out either, correct?
No, like advertised?
Right. Like, do we
No.
take applications or anything for that? I know there's not a lot of interest. I get that, but,
Yeah.
but I do think that's a huge conflict. I think we could run into
Let's
that.
follow it through.
I'm sorry, what, Joyce?
I said just follow it
We'll
through,
follow
so
it
it'll be
through.
off the.
Any other discussion on this? No? All right, let's do a roll call.
Okay.
All right, so, go ahead.
Trustee Greenwood,
No.
trustee McKay,
No,
supervisor Godey,
No.
clerk Bracco, no. Trustee Hoskins,
No.
no. Trustee Menke,
No,
okay, 6 no's, motion fails.
You can come back now.
Yeah.
You can't leave.
you're not done for
Next on the agenda is resolution 04082513, resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Charter Township of Bedford to establish a $25 fee for applicant for a solicitor's permit. And then as a side note, there's no fee is collected currently, and permits are issued the same day. Permits will be issued the next business day after application is submitted.
So,
All
I'll
right,
support.
all right, any discussion?
so we've never had a fee for,
We have not. And I think it's become problematic because we have 4, 5, 6, 8 people at one time applying for it. And there's no fee. This just pertains to the solicitor, so the people that are knocking on your door. And at that time, I also have, we get an application filled out and there's a driver's license. We get a copy of the driver's license. And we also notify the police because when they're out in the neighborhood, they're scaring people. We did have some unfortunate circumstances just 2 weeks ago where they were knocking on doors at 9:30 at night. And that's unacceptable. And it's scary. People were calling. I don't know how many calls you got.
Approximately like
Several.
4 to 5. The issue as well is they were getting confused where they were actually in Urbandale and not in Bedford. So people, the biggest thing was the time frame. I think the last knock was around 10:45.
Oh.
And then you ended up speaking to them and they were selling something different than what was on their
Yeah.
application. So
Yeah, they were supposedly the natural gas, and we got word that they were selling vapes and
cable.
Cable, yeah.
Cable.
or cable.
Mhm.
Yep, cable and Wi-Fi.
And just to clarify on this, I'm talking too much tonight, sorry, the solicitors, that's not gonna like go to any, if somebody, the farmer's
No,
market down
no,
here.
no.
garage
That's not
sales,
affected
things like
at all.
that. That's not gonna.
No, it's
affect.
just the
Okay.
people knocking on the
Door-to-door
doors.
sales.
Door-to-door.
Door-to-door salesman. And that's just to have a, so they come in and we'll have all their
Yeah,
information.
we have a little
and
idea
then-
of who's.
Right,
hanging
but
around.
it takes a minute
Yeah.
to do 8 of those. You know,
Okay, so the cost is justified, yeah, okay.
and that is the going rate for the permits around
Okay.
our area.
Yep.
The city of Battle Creek also does a background check.
And can the residents, if somebody shows up at their house, whether it be 5 or 8 PM or 10, they have a right to ask if they have a permit with us? And then do they have to show it?
They do,
Okay,
they do.
Good, that's very good to know.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you
Yeah.
have a right, so I would, that late,
I just don't answer the door.
yeah.
But a lot of people don't,
Yeah.
but you know, a
It's
lot of
scary.
people do. Yeah,
Yeah,
If I want something, I go buy it at the store.
Okay.
Completely honest, when they're doing it, they aren't targeting people
no,
that are kind of in this room in order, people who would ask to see their permit. They're going to lower income housing, targeting people who are going to be less likely to read all the way through it. They see an opportunity.
Sure.
It's not necessarily a scam, but it's something that looks good on paper. It's just like when you sign up for a new phone and they're like, oh, we'll give you a lower rate. And then
Yeah.
after 6 months, your rate's a little higher.
Mhm.
You know, the program is no different than that, an introductory rate that eventually ends up costing you.
yeah, thank you, that sounds like you're yeah,
But
yeah. Thank you.
any other discussion? All right, let's do a roll call.
Supervisor Brody,
Yes.
trustee Menke,
Yes.
treasurer Davis,
Yes.
trustee McKay,
Yes.
clerk Bracco, yes, trustee Greenwood,
Yes.
trustee Hoskins.
Yes.
7 yes, motion carried.
Okay, now we are at public comments. As you know, the rules are posted out there, the rules of the quorum. And if you have public comment, you have 3 minutes.
First of all, thank you, board, for appointing a new member to the planning commission. Always good to have a full house, especially with the amount of special land use we have going on. You always have to have 2/3 majority to process those. So if you run into vacant seats and absences and stuff like that, that can get tricky. So thank you very much for that. So the motion for the Labor and Compensation Advisory Committee, like, what's driving that? Where's that coming from? Like, those are concerns as a resident. I'm hearing a lot about, well, you know, Penfield or Ross, or we're gonna compare to other townships. You know, like Bedford is unique. We have things that other townships don't have that, you know, are gonna be a factor in labor compensation. How many employees you need, how many employees you don't need. So I'm not sure that that's a direction, you know, comparing, you know, apples to apples and stuff like that, you know, that's a concern as a resident, you know. Just as far as, you know, general housekeeping, stuff like that. I would have thought, you know, an appropriate way to handle that would be, you know, a budget meeting. We didn't have one last year. We've always had one. You know, a budget workshop, excuse me, misspoke there. You know, to engage the trustees and the supervisor and the clerk and the treasurer, you know, because, you know, it feels like the elected officials might be getting, you know, pushed away from that, making that decision. I know it's an advisory committee. It's different than, you know, a commission, whether, you know, you're giving away some of those rights. So I was happy to hear that we made that distinction as far as that goes. But it just, you know, it's out of left field, and it seems like, you know, from my personal standpoint, I would always want my elected officials to be hands-on in that regard, not an advisory committee. I understand we're gonna have 2 trustees on there, which is the same thing as having an elected official. But, you know, I mean, you're talking about maybe having some other individuals on there. You know, what criteria, what experience, you know, those kind of things come to mind, just in the sense that, you know, that's gonna be determining, you know, wages and compensation, you know, I mean, that's gonna go a long way to, you know, open spots being filled or, you know, not. So I probably went on for longer than 3 minutes.
I just feel in 3 minutes.
I guess what I'm trying to say is that I hope we see a lot of discussion about what the expectation is gonna be from the board and for that committee. Having served on a road advisory committee that didn't have that.
Can I address any of that?
yes,
We want to? No.
sure.
Yeah.
Right, there you go.
Hi there.
Madam Chair, Greg Moore, Community Affairs Manager for Consumers Energy. Discussion about some of the concerns that Officer LaValle raised about people going door to door. I thought it'd be a good time to just step up and talk about something that thankfully has not reared its head in this area yet. We hope that it doesn't, but it has on the east side of the state late last year and resulted in some fatalities as people who were posing as utility workers came. You may have heard about it in the news. Thankfully, they were, I mean, not thankfully, but it wasn't for Consumers Energy, but they did approach, were able to gain access, and tragedy resulted. So our people will always have a badge. They will always have, if they're out working, they will have their vest, they will have a hard hat. You'll probably see a truck with lights. Now, it is possible you may see a car. We have contractors that come around for various services we provide that will have the sticker that says Consumers Energy Contractor or Authorized Consumers Energy. That could be legit, but those are also not difficult to make. So make sure that if somebody does come to your house and they say they're representing Consumers Energy or they're here for Consumers Energy, always ask to see the badge. We would have no problem showing it. We always carry it. The other thing to keep in mind is that even though we don't provide the natural gas here, there are parts of the county where we do. Natural gas is a service that you can choose the company that you get your natural gas from. So there are legitimate situations where companies will come around door to door and ask if you'd like to change natural gas providers. It's not illegal. It's perfectly legit in the state of Michigan. I just caution you to be very careful. Never show one of these companies your bill. Never. Because what they want, if they're not legitimate, is to get your customer number. Once they have that, they can do, remember the old slamming and cramming that we had with phones? They could switch your phone service. Well, once they get that number, they can leave and say, I'm sorry, I don't want to stick with Sunco or whoever. And you find yourself switched to a new company the following month. And then you play havoc trying to get it changed. So it is a legitimate thing to do in the state. You need to watch. The best thing I can suggest is that if you're interested in doing something like that, go to the Public Service Commission website for the state of Michigan, and they have a full list of authorized contractors and companies that do business in the state of Michigan that they follow and they track, and you can compare prices and all that stuff right on their website. And you get a peace of mind of whether this company that's come to your door is really legit. And if they say anything like, well, you know, if you don't sign on with us tonight, you know, the deal's probably going to change, don't do it. That's just a sign right there. Any legitimate company is going to give you time as a customer to think through your decision and do what's best for you and your family. So better safe than sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I was gonna say that at the end if you didn't say it, so good. I'm glad you did.
Catherine LaValle, and I want to also thank Consumers Energy. What you've gone through in the last 2 weeks is just remarkable, and we so appreciate you. And please pass on my appreciation, even though I wasn't affected by a loss of energy, but I know a lot of people were. It's been a tough 2 weeks. I just wanted to let you know that I've received my absentee ballot from Bedford Township. The vote will be May 6th on the 0 tax rate increase for Battle Creek Public Schools improvement bond. I do have yard signs tonight if you're wanting to have one of those in your yard. I promise to come pick them up. I won't send Officer LaValle to pick them up. But one thing, all of us in the community of Battle Creek Public Schools received this flyer, postcard. It does have a correct, well, I thought it had the QR code on it, but yes, it does. Right here down the bottom, this QR code is the correct one. Last month, I handed you out one of these flyers. It's all good information, but somehow, some way, this QR code wouldn't open up for a link. So that can be kind of frustrating, but I do have, you know, yard signs tonight if anybody's interested, or you can give me a call too. Joyce has my phone number, but I just appreciate the ability to remind the voters of Battle Creek Public Schools that this is an important election coming up on May 6th, and it's just nice that our absentee ballots are in our hands already. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments?
You think it's scary having the solicitor come knock on your door that late? Try having the police department come and knock on your door that late at night. They're not pulled in your driveway, they're not parked out front, and you can't see anybody but somebody knocking on the door and you can't understand what they're saying, and I wouldn't open the door, but all you see is a guy standing out in your front yard in between pine
Oh,
trees.
my
That
God.
was, my daughter's like, call 911, don't open the door. Come to find out it was the police department. Two things. One, please don't do away with the Facebook page. That, I understand it may not get updated as often as it should, but that is a viable resource in communication for your township residents. And I take that information and I share it. And you have individuals that are, they can get on Facebook and manage it. They can't handle a website to go to a link or that they just don't have. I've tried to teach some people and it's just crazy. So please do not do that. And the other thing I want to say is I want to thank Mr. Beamish for his service to Bedford Township. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Commissioner Sky, have you met Tony Artist?
You know, we've been here for a long.
Oh, did you? Okay, yeah.
We were talking much
Okay.
before. We did not actually make contact.
Okay,
I will.
now you know. All right, next is elected officials and trustees' personal privilege. Trustee McKay?
Well, Ms. LaValle started my speech. I wanted to thank our fire department, the police department, Consumers Energy. We had chaos the last few weeks, especially on the north end of Uldricks. It was a mess. And I just appreciate all our neighbors kind of got together. Do you have a generator? Do you have a generator? Do you put this in the freezer? And it was a community-wide effort, at least that part of the community. But I really appreciate it. Not so sure I'm going to be happy Friday, because I got a card in the mail that said, I'm going to be without power between 11 p.m. and approximately 8 a.m. because they're going to fix some things they couldn't fix. But I have a generator, so I'm okay. But again, thank you all for everything.
Thank you. Trustee Hoskins?
Yeah, a couple things. I would like we're a military family. I'd like everybody to keep the local soldier that was a Battle Creek native, that passed away in Lithuania. Prayers for the family. He has children here. We need to keep all of them in our prayers. Thank you for Tony. Congratulations on your joining on the commission and staying for our closed session. Thank you guys for staying and thank you, Barry, for your service.
Yeah. Trustee Meineke?
Thanks, everybody, for staying. I know it's a long night. But thanks for coming. Keep coming. I guess that's all I got to say right now.
Okay. Trustee Greenwood?
Yeah, just a couple things. I've been here for about 8 years. We've gone through 6 supervisors. We've had a lot of tumultuous stuff, things happen both internally, externally. I have internally, I don't think it's been worse since what I have seen in the last 4 months. I believe this board has lacked compassion, integrity, and I'm quite frankly tired of all of the covert behavior. So in good conscience and with integrity, I will be resigning effective immediately. I want to thank everyone for the support. I want to thank all of the constituents that voted for me, Chairman Stein on the Planning Commission. Thank you. I have nothing.
Okay. I'll be sure that clerk needs that in writing.
Thank you, David.
Clerk Rocco?
A reminder, election is May 6th. We have almost 1,000 ballots out, hoping to get more back in. They're a little slow coming back in. And then also, Barry, thank you for your service. You're appreciated.
All right. Trustee Davis.
I just want to thank everybody for hanging around tonight for so long. This has been a long meeting and thank you for being here.
Yes, thank you. All right, I am showing 9:12 PM on my clock here, so we'll call this meeting over. Next meeting is May 13th at 6:30.